Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the official opening of the University of the Free State. Please rise for the procession to enter.
We may be seated. Thank you very much to Anton Esterhazer and team for the music. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the official opening ceremony of the University of the Free State. Colleagues tuning in from QwaQwa campus and the South, welcome. We have apologies from the Chancellor of the University of the Free State, Dr. Kgotso Mokgele. But allow me to say good morning again and welcome to the Vice Chancellor and Rector, Professor Jonathan Johnson, to the Chairperson of the University of Free State Council, the Honorable Judge van der Merwe, the Vice Rector Operations, Prof. Nikki Morgan, who will join us soon, Vice Rector Research, Professor Gorli Vitun, Vice Rector Academic, Dr. Liz Langer, the Registrar Governance and Policy, Dr. Gift Finger, Registrar Systems and Administration, Dr. Karen Lazenby, to our campus head, campus principal of QwaQwa campus, Professor Prakash Naidu, campus principal, South Campus, Professor Danila Kosia, good morning. To the President of the Convocation of the University of the Free State, Professor Grobler, the Deans of Faculties, Professor Lucius Buertes, Professor Fanny Snyman, Professor Caroline Nicholson, and Professor Sechaba Mahlomaholo, and extending the welcome to the acting deans, Ms. Cornelia Fassen, Prof. Danny Vermeulen, Professor Philippe Berger, and Dr. Santi van Vuren. I also want to welcome our presidents of SRC and the SRC members present here and at QwaQwa, to the SRC president of Bloemfontein campus, Lindoku Hlentuli, and the president of the QwaQwa campus, Mr. Paseka Skosana. Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I will be handing over to the Vice Chancellor, to the Rector and Vice Chancellor of the University of the Free State to give a message. Have a wonderful morning with us.
Goeiemôre dames en here. Good morning everyone. Sanibonani and Dumalang. Later today we will be laying to rest the son of my beloved secretary, Ms. Rhoda Grobler. And she's not just the secretary, as you know, for the main building, but for all of you. on all three campuses. And so I would like to request that both for Rhoda and her family, as well as for all our staff and students who lost loved ones, would you mind standing just for a moment of silence? Thank you very much. Justice van der Merwe, our Chairman of Council, Presidents of the SRC, Mr. Skosana, Mr. Ntuli, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, students, and friends visiting, this has been by far the most difficult year for admissions, registration, accommodation, and student finance. The heightened expectations of students after fees must fall, and the limited capacity of the university to meet the desires of our students have created for us a really difficult situation. In the middle of all of this was the COFC staff member. There was Vida in finance, who had to look the student in the eye and say there is no more money. There was Juby in applications, who had to say, but your application is late and that degree program is oversubscribed. There was Andre in the NSFAS office, who had to say, yes, the minister did say there is more money, but we don't have the promise in the bank. There was Leanne in the science faculty and Adri in the law faculty, who had to counsel a student away from her first choice because he did not have the right math mark from school. There was Tebogo on the Kwakwa campus, who had to help the student understand that we were doing everything in our power to solve the water crisis in the area. There's Melissa in counseling, who had to see yet another student suffering from deadly depression because he simply didn't have enough money to survive from one class to the next. And there was Francois on the South Campus, trying very hard to fit yet another student into a crowded class, rather than have her waste a year at home. Now, I've been here for 6 years and 7 months, and 3 weeks and 2 days and 14 hours. And I can honestly tell you, never before had I seen such dedication from all of our staff to hold together the university in these very trying times. And to all of you, I want to say thank you very, very much. Some of you have worked through the night, I know that. And many of you have worked over weekends just to make sure that every student is served. And so I wish I could mention every one of you by name. But you know who you are, and thank you very, very much. Whether you're simply cleaning in the George Du Toit building, or you're working with Quentin in housing, thank you for the incredibly hard work that all of you have put into our university. Because of you, we have a record intake of first-year students into the University of the Free State. For the past 3 years, we've had on average around 5,000 students. As of today, we are close to 7,000 first-year students, with a very strong possibility that we will excel, or exceed rather, both our own target of 8,000 students, as well as the departmental target, Department of Higher Education, of 7,500 by the middle of the year, once we have the new South Campus enrollments online. That is obviously good for the students because it means that the access to our university to a top quality university in central South Africa is possible, especially with so many parents trying to decide where can I send my child to a campus that has two qualities. One, a high quality of education, and two, the safety of their children. Those are the two things any parent worries about. And I think they find that in the University of the Free State. It's also obviously good for the finances of the university, since we are funded, as you know, on the basis of how many students show up and how many graduate. I have another piece of good news for you. We just have the 2014 data in, and the success rate stands at 82%. Now, if you remember, not too long ago, we were in the 60s. And this is also good for the university. It's good for the morale of our students. And I have to tell you, yesterday I taught all the first-year students for about half an hour in the Kali. I saw them in 4 groups. And after each session, the students stood in line to come and greet. And I asked them one question: where are you from? And they were from all the 9 provinces and from other parts of the world. Where are you from? I said to the young man. He said, I'm from Kearsley College, which, as you know, is a very elite college in the Natal Midlands. Where are you from? I said to the young woman. And they came from everywhere. And it is so wonderful for our country and for our campus that this university can offer a quality education and a secure learning environment for students from everywhere. I want to bid a special welcome to all our new staff, from Beata heading the international office, to Karen, the new registrar, to Norco, the head of security, to Anamia, heading advancement, and all of you who are new to the campus. This is going to be a wonderful journey, and we are so excited about our new staff. Highly competent people from very good university experiences, and we welcome you here today. Now, because of the incredible strain taken by our staff, and as you know, I tend to spend part of a day just walking around into your offices uninvited, and I can see the stress and the strain that many of you take, not just physically but emotionally. And so we are planning to convene a meeting very shortly with expert counselors to speak to you and to support you now that classes are underway. We will make sure that every one of you receives the spiritual, emotional, and health support that you need to help you through this very difficult period. And yes, I'm going to speak to some of your line managers. Like Prof. Nikki, for example. I'm going to speak to his line manager. I think there's a book called Conversations with Myself. And I'm going to speak to him and several others of you, because you might not recognize it, but you take incredible strain. You see, your ability to serve depends on how often you can take a break. I know that's true for me. I can't be chirpy and upbeat and enthusiastic if my boss, Justice van der Merwe, doesn't every now and again say, take off some time. I know how important that is also for you. Now, I'm sure you watch television and you read the newspapers, and you've seen the very sad episodes of violence and destruction on campuses around the country, from Cape Town to Johannesburg and Pretoria. Today, the University of Pretoria closed 2 of its campuses, Groenkloof and Hatfield. It's very difficult on our campuses today. University buses have been burnt this week. Precious artworks have been destroyed. And by the way, those artworks include the artworks by a black protest artist from the 1980s and a portrait of Molly Blackburn from the Black Sash. Now, you might not know Molly Blackburn, but I knew her as a kid. Molly Blackburn and her team used to stand on the streets of South Africa, especially in Cape Town, women dressed in black, to protest the fact that black Africans had to carry passports. But you see, when you have an uneducated activism, that's what you do. It's absolutely horrible when on a university campus you burn artworks. Just doesn't make sense to me. And the Vice-Chancellor's office at the University of Cape Town was petrol bombed. There's nothing left in the office. I've seen the office. This is what it's come to. Now let me say something about the approach of the University of the Free State to these kinds of challenges. And I want to leave you with 7 principles on which my team and I managed this university during very difficult times. Number 1, we will do and continue to do everything within our capacity to meet the needs of our staff and our students. I need you to know that. We work, every one of us here, we work 18 hours a day. And that's what I demand of my colleagues as I demand of myself. I sat with a student in my office the other day because the students don't always believe when you say there is no money. So I opened online for him my bank account. Please don't tell my wife because she will divorce me. And I opened my bank account and I said, how much money do you see in my account? He said, where must I look, Prof? I said, right there. He said, hey, Prof, 0. I said, yes. Now let's go to my expenditures. Do you see there's 25,000 rand? You know where that went to? That went to a student who couldn't afford to be here. Now I said to him, I'm not saying this because I want you to applaud me. I'm too old for that. I'm saying this to tell you that at the University of the Free State, I know there are secretaries here who don't earn very much, by the way, who out of their own pockets give money to students to register. I know that some of you, in fact, I can point you out. In your homes, you are accommodating 2 to 3 students. I know who you are, simply because of the student accommodation crisis. I know that some of you have run around looking in town, in universitas and these areas, just to get students extra housing. All of you have made enormous sacrifices to the students. And let me just say this, you have done the right thing. And this university will stop at nothing. I asked last night Dr. Val and Mr. Ntuli to come and see me because I still think we must use our minds to develop even more creative solutions for the student accommodation crisis. You see, it's very difficult when a student comes from Limpopo, ends up with a suitcase in Bloemfontein, and doesn't understand why he got 6 A's but he can't find a bed to sleep. Now, I can explain to him rationally, you've got to apply for accommodation. I can explain to him logically, the beds are all full. But at the end of the day, the young man is confused. He's 17, 18 years old and he doesn't understand. So I want to give you my word that we will stop at nothing to try and accommodate every single student, both financially as well as academically, as far as we can. Don't ever doubt that. Don't ever doubt that. The second thing is, as a principle on which we manage the university, we will always uphold the right to peaceful protest in our democracy. If you see people walking around singing, I know the singing isn't always very good, but if you see people walking around and singing an old person, I just want you to know, chill, don't panic. It's the right of people in a democracy to be able to protest. This is very important. Don't confuse protest with illegal activities. It's the right to protest. That's what a lot of people struggled for. The right to express your opinion, even if, and especially when you disagree. And so I want you to understand that the management here will not overreact to a protest simply because it's a protest. It is the democratic right of people to express their views, especially when we disagree. Number 3, a fundamental principle that we've been working with so far, and that is we will not allow on any one of the 3 campuses unlawful actions by students or workers. Protest is one thing, but the moment you pick up a stone, that's your last day on this campus. The moment you disrupt a class or intimidate others to join your strike, that is wrong, and we will act against that. So I want to distinguish here the right to protest from the right to respect other people's rights, not to protest, or other people's rights to continue classes, or for the administration in George Du Toit or in the faculties to do their work. That I will not allow to be disrupted. That is wrong, and I want you to know that. Number 4, the fundamental principle is we will uphold the authority of our unions and only bargain through UFPERSU and NEHAWU following last night's forum decisions, including on the matter of outsourcing. So this is something in which I take my instruction from the unions, and we will act accordingly. Number 5, we will continue to try and find humane and just solutions to the problem of outsourcing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me be very clear. If we had the money as a university, we would insource every contracted worker like today. We really would, but we don't have the money. And if we don't have the money, we put the university at very serious risk. And that, of course, the chairman won't allow me to do that. I certainly won't allow myself to do that. And so, whatever the situation, Prof. Nicky Morgan and his team have been very good at saying, what is a just and a living wage? What is a respectable set of conditions of service? How can we press the contractors, the employers of the contracted workers to be more fair to everyone? We work with them every day to make sure. We were the first university to provide free studies for the children of contracted workers. We don't have to do that. There's no law saying you must do that, but we do it because it's right and it's just. And so we will do everything in our power, ladies and gentlemen, to find a solution to the problem of outsourcing. And it is a problem. It's not fair to have people working under one set of conditions and others under another set of conditions. Number 6, and following from what I just said, we obviously will not place the university at financial risk. You know, I've only been here for 6 years, but just before I came, I walked into a university that was extremely traumatized by the fact that they had to lay off staff under my predecessor. And when Professor Neil Viljoen, who was at that point the Vice Rector for Finance, when he left, he was a wonderful, wonderful man. We became very good friends. But when we left, he came into my office and he says, I'm retiring today. I want you just to promise me one thing. I said, sure, what? He said, make sure this university never again goes through the trauma of laying off its staff. And whether it's me or my successor, this is something we must take very seriously. Because when you lay off staff in an economy like this, you're putting people into severe poverty, and we can't do that. We can't do that. But in order not to do that, we have to be responsible. We're not a rich university. I know some people think we've got millions. I heard in the Kali Human students saying, the university has billions stored away. Listen, if we had billions stored away, I wouldn't even work here. You know, it would just, I would just not even be here. But we don't have billions. And I can assure you, we have to work responsibly with the money we have. So those of you who are staff at the University of the Free State, if the negotiations are tough around the issue of the annual increase, trust me, it's not that we don't want to. It's because our first priority is to make sure nobody loses his or her job. That's our first priority. And that is fundamental to the way Prof. Morgan and the team, and indeed fundamental to the way Council holds us as the governing body, Council holds us responsible for that commitment as well. And then finally, as a principle on which we manage the university, we will maintain an open door policy on everything from fees to insourcing until we have found durable solutions. Now, the most important initiative this year is the student bursary fundraising campaign. Now, trust me, we took a long time to get to that particular label, the Student Bursary Fundraising Campaign. I am leading a team at the moment with the assistance of Anamia, and our plan is to raise 100 million rands this year for student funding. But we are not going to raise 100 million rands and then give it away. Because you see, the problem with a 0% fee increase is if you do it for 2016, you've got to do it again for 2017 and again for 2018. In other words, it's what the finance people call a recurrent expenditure. So we're not going to raise 100 million and give it away. We're going to take that 100 million and generate the interest under the most favorable conditions with our bankers, and use the interest, which could be anywhere from, says Chris Liebenberg, anywhere from 7, 8, 10 million rands, and use the interest to be able to fund students. So if we can at the very least register 1,000 students, that would give me great hope, because that allows us then to find additional scholarship funding anywhere. So I want to say to you, for the rest of this year, if you don't see me on campus, it's not because I don't want to be here. In fact, I'd prefer to be here. But it's because I knock on doors in Johannesburg and Cape Town and other parts of the world with people to raise the money. So far, the promises on paper from some of our funders is already very encouraging. People like this university. People really like the message of uncompromising on the issue of standards. People love that. And people like the message that this is a university that is forgiving, that has a different approach to human relationships. People like that. They like the fact that it's a relatively stable campus. They like the fact that here in the middle of the country, we do things a little differently. And so we're getting some traction, and I'm not going to rest until we have all of this money available for our students. We will carry the admin cost. In other words, we won't use a cent of this money for the administration of the money, which, as you know, is a huge cost in and of itself. Every cent will go directly to a student, but on a sustainable basis, And so I'm very excited about this. Now, I need your help, as I will also say to council when we meet next month. Even if you give 100 rands or 50 rands, make a contribution. Because you see, it's not just the big money by the wealthy families that's going to get us there. It's also the individual contributions that each and every one of you make that will help us to be able to get there. So that is priority number one for 2016, at least from my office. I've totally reorganized my diary, so some people will be a bit disappointed that I won't be able to see you or speak at some event, but this is priority number one. We've got to get this money and keep that money to be able to fund students with good marks, but with no money to be able to study. And by the way, I don't believe that government is going to solve this problem of student financing. I see no imagination so far for resolving this, because that will require restructuring the national budget, nothing less, and, as one of you told me, restructuring the economy. And for that to happen, we obviously need a completely new way of thinking. Now, I have some good news for you. We have been trying to be very competitive as a university in at least the national stakes. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. Now, one area in which we're one of the top universities in the country at the moment, in fact, one of the top 3 or 4, is in the production of scholarly books. Now, let me tell you what the difference is between a scholarly book and all these other books. This is not a study guide for UNISA. This is not a tutor manual. This is a book deeply entrenched in theory, in methodology, in the practice of change. And we're up there, but I said to Professor Vatun, I'm not going to rest till we are the #1 university, not number 3 or 4, when it comes to scholarly books in the country. This is our niche. This is what we do well. And I want to thank all the academics who have put together, again, a record number of publications for our university, both in journals but also in scholarly books. And so let me make the announcement of the winner of this year's scholarly book. I have actually read this book, in part because my own research a few years ago was on schools in Namibia. The title of this book is National Liberation in Post-Colonial Southern Africa, a historical ethnography of SWAPO's exile camps. The publisher is Cambridge University Press, and the publication date was 2015. And so I'm pleased to tell you that the UFS Book Prize for Distinguished Scholarship in 2016 goes to Dr. Christian Williams from the Anthropology Department. Christian, would you come forward, please? I know that the book prize comes with some kind of monetary award, so Christian, if I could just remind you of the... Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I don't normally do this at these big functions, but I do want to thank my senior team. When people ask me in other parts of the country, why is the University of the Free State so calm compared to other campuses? My answer is always the same. I say I have an outstanding team. And so I want to say to Choice, to Liz, to Karen, to Prakash, to Lucius, to Caroline, Dani, Philippe, Santi, Cornelia, Lindu, Sichaba, I think I got all your names, Fani, and Danella and Gift, and Corley, and Nikki, who I don't see here yet. I just want to say to you, thank you for being an excellent team. The mix of people, we have people who are very good intellectually around these issues that face us. People are very good politically in terms of strategy. There are people who want to take on things immediately, and others say, sleep on it overnight. It's a fantastic team in terms of the mix, emotionally, intellectually, politically, that enables us to manage these very difficult times. So to the deans, to the vice-rectors, to the registrars, to the student leadership, thank you very, very much for making my job very, very easy, actually, because you do all the hard work. To all the staff, weer eens baie dankie. Groot waardering vir die werk wat julle insit vir ons universiteit. Baie, baie dankie vir die hart waarmee julle dit doen. Jy weet, dis een ding om werk toe te kom, is 'n ander ding om te doen met 'n passie vir ander mense en veral vir ons studente. Baie dankie vir julle opoffering. Ons sien dit raak en ek wil vir u sê ons waardeer dit opreg. En ek is baie, baie dankbaar dat ek hier kan werk met so 'n span. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. I know we have prepared some, this is what we do in the Free State. You know, if you're depressed, you eat. So we have something to eat. So thank you very much, and I'll hand back to Dr. Choice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Jonathan Johnson. We are energized. I can confirm for all of us, we are energized and ready for 2016. We will take breaks whenever it's necessary. Ladies and gentlemen, after here we will have the refreshments, but at this point we are going to stand up for the singing of the national anthem, and then thereafter just allow the procession to go out, and then we go. Thank you.
Kosi sika